Starring Bela Day in But Ma, that's my favorite movie. Oh, well, all right. But don't you spend too much time in front of that TV, do you hear me? Yes, Ma. Hello, everybody. How are you doing today? I hope today is treating you well. Well, welcome to my podcast, But Ma, That's My Favorite Movie. And I am your hippity hop host, kind of foreshadowing for when we go into our episode later. But I am your host, Bela Day. And welcome. If you are a returning listener, hello there. Thank you for coming back. I appreciate you. And you're a real one, period. Now, if you are a new listener, well, hello. Thank you so much for stopping by. And you are definitely in for a treat today, which hopefully will keep you coming back for more. All right. So let's get into this episode title today. It is episode 15, But Ma, That's My Favorite Artist in a Movie. So I don't know if you can kind of guess or if you have any idea by now, but we are going to be talking about rappers, singers, an artist who has been featured in a movie. And we have two great and fun movies that we are going to be talking about today. And of course, if you follow any of our social medias by now, you will know what those two movies are. But if you don't follow any of the social medias, then I suggest you go ahead and do that. So on our social medias, we are on Facebook. We are at But Ma, That's My Favorite Movie Podcast. On Instagram, it's at But Ma, That's My Fave Movie. And on Twitter, we are But Ma, the initials TMFMP. Go ahead and like our social media so you can keep track of any updates, or also when I post about the upcoming episodes. Along with that, we do have a website, which is butmathat'smyfavoritemovie.com. So please go ahead, catch up there, choose any of the links to any of the platforms that we're available on, which is Google, Spotify, Apple, Pocket Cast, Castbox, iHeartRadio. I'm kind of thinking as I'm saying it because I'm like, wait, what are all our different platforms we're available on? And Breaker, Radio Public. And yeah, that's it. Oh, and then, of course, the main one is Podbean. So Podbean is a free app. You can download that. Apple comes with your iPhones already. Spotify, anyone can have a free account with that. So just whichever one floats your boat, go ahead and just get on the boat and let's get ready to fish. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and get straight into this episode today. So the theme, we're going to specifically be talking about rappers and singers who star in these movies. Now, you know, sometimes you never know when an artist tries their hat in a different type of artistry, right? Because if they're really good at singing or they're really good at performing, when you enter into the realm of acting, it's a totally different ball game. So just because you're a great performer, it doesn't mean you're going to be a great actor or actress. And so I always hope that any musician or artist that tries their hat at acting, that they take it seriously and that of course they do the best that they can. But I mean, depending on your experience, you can only do as best as you can, right? So I always have high expectations because I take acting seriously because I did theater. I went to acting school. And so I have a certain level of expectation when anyone decides to get into that field. So, you know, I always just have high hopes for it or just higher expectations, and you never know what you're going to get. Now, some surprise you and they do excellent, and then some flop and fall on their face. But here's the thing, you cannot fault someone for trying. So I will never, like, if I look at their performance and I go, yeah, that just doesn't work. You know what? I'll give people the benefit of the doubt, because at the end of the day, people are just doing what they're passionate about, possibly something that they're interested in, and they're just trying it, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I just always hope that regardless, they take it seriously. But these two movies that we're going to talk about today are, ooh, I hope that wasn't too loud. I was doing the little, what's the little signal, like the chefs do, the chef kiss. There you go. I just did a chef's kiss. So these two movies that we're going to talk about today are super fun. They have some artists that I do like myself, that I have listened to. So we're just going to get right into that thing. All right, so let's get into this first movie here. Lights, camera, action. It's called Principal Oscar. Maybe the world is in short supply, but I am not. See, people pay their tax dollars for my principal so they can go into a restaurant and not eat chicken fried rat or bite into a bacon, lettuce, and tomato sandwich. If I slack up on you, then I have to cut everyone a break. And pretty soon the almonds on your salad have legs. If that makes me uncompromising, then I wear it as a badge of honor because I'm damn good company. Martin Luther King was uncompromising. Nelson Mandela was uncompromising. And I'm sure your mother was uncompromising, although the evidence of that is not apparent today. So, why don't you think of me as your mom right now? And mama says, clean it up! So that quote was by Eva, who is played by Gabrielle Union. And that is from the movie Deliver Us from Eva, which, if you're not sure, if you're not sure where that kind of play on words came from, everyone knows like the movie Deliver Us from Evil, which is a perfect title for this type of movie as we get to know the character Eva, because she's pretty damn evil. All right, so this movie was released February 7th, 2003. The director is Gary Hardwick, who also directed The Brothers. We have writers James Ivor. We have B.E. Bronner. And both of them actually were writers for the movie Marrying Mr. Darcy. And then Gary Hardwick, who's the director, was also a co-writer as well. And he did write The Brothers, and he wrote The Perfect Match. And let's go ahead and get into the summary here. So we start off at a funeral for Raymond Ray Adams, who's played by LL Cool J. So Ray is narrating, and he's telling us about his funeral and how the reason that we're actually at this funeral is because 3 guys are there, and they're kind of sitting there looking all dopey and kind of sad. And these 3 men are Michael, aka Mike, who's played by Dwayne Martin. We have Timothy, aka Tim, played by Mel Jackson, and we have Daryl, played by D'Artagnan Edmonds. I hope I said that right. But anyway, so these 3 men are dating the Dandridge sisters, who are Karina, played by Essence Atkins, Jackie, played by Megan Good, and Bethany, played by Robin Lee. Okay, but there's also a 4th sister named Evangeline Eva, who is the single one out of all of the sisters, and she's also the matriarch of the family because their parents had died when they were younger, so she kind of took over kind of like the father and mother role. She's protective over the sisters, and she's also really nurturing to them. So Eva has become this evil let's say, okay, there's 3 sisters, 3 husbands, the evil 7th wheel. Okay. She is completely unbearable to deal with because she's always mingling in their marriages, in their life, and she pretty much has control over all her sisters. Anything that she tells her sisters to do, anything she suggests for her sister to do, they do it because they love her, they appreciate her, they know she sacrificed so much for them, she does so much for them. So she is just, kind of the be all end all, and these sisters are super close, and just because they're so close to her and just because they respect her so much, they don't even look at her advice or whatever she's saying about their relationships as meddling, but technically it is, because she doesn't have her own life. And so basically from this beginning scene, we go back 6 months. So we're going to see how this even leads up to the funeral, right? So The guys one day come up with an idea while they're at this bar, and they've already came up with this idea, but it hasn't been successful before. That's how I'll say that. So they know if Eva had a man, her own life, she would not be worried about them, and then they could do whatever they wanted to do with their wives and not have to worry about, Eva meddling into their lives. So one day while at the bar, the guys see this man named Ray. Now Mike knows Ray, and he pretty much like introduces them to the rest of the guys. And the guys actually witness the way he interacts with ladies, because he actually has two ladies who are fighting over him. And it's apparent, like, they both know that he was dating them, but they were more mad at each other than they were at him. And just the way he smoothed things over with them, they were super impressed. So they actually, talk to Mike, and they try to convince him to date Eva. And so they're pretty much just like, hey, you should just, date this girl. She's pretty cool. She's a pretty girl. You should date her. And Ray's like, well, what's wrong with her? Like, does she got incarcerated baby daddy? Like, does she have a bunch of kids? What's the deal with her? Because why are y'all trying to get me to date her? And so they're pretty much like, oh, no, she's fine. There's nothing wrong with her. You should just really date her. And then they try to sweeten the pot, because they're like, okay, this is what we want. We want you to go on a date with her, make her fall in love with you. Then we want you to break her heart. So then while you're like making her fall in love with you, all of this, we want this to go over months, not something like you date like a couple days and then it's done. Like, no, date her, make her fall in love, so on and so forth. And they sweeten the pot by saying, we'll pay you to date her, to do all of this. And initially Ray's like, no, I'm not a con man. Like, okay, I'm a ladies man, but I'm not a con man. I'm not paying to break girls' hearts. And so he refuses, and he's like, yeah, that's not something I can jam to. So then later on, we learn that Eva is a health inspector who is super serious about her job. The first day we go to work with her, the restaurant that she's inspecting is actually the place that Ray works. So he gets to see her in action, which makes Ray want to take the offer, because he sees how much authority she has, just how kind of, I don't want to say stuck up, because just because a woman's serious about her job doesn't mean she's stuck up, but just how aggressive she is, just her whole persona, and he actually saw it as wow, she could be a challenge for me, because I don't think he's ever dated a girl like her before. So he's like, wow, she could be a challenge. So he goes up to the man and he goes, hey, I'm going to take you up on your deal, but this is the price. And he said $5,000. So he gave them the price of what he would be willing to do this for. And at first, because he goes to Mike, and Mike's like, oh my God, that's steep, like $5,000. But he did let them know previously that he needed the money so he could buy this house, because this house was going on sale. So the guys think about it, because that was higher than I think they were wanting to pay. But it's one of those things like, okay, if we can get Eva off our back, this could be an investment. Meanwhile, Eva actually gets offered a potential promotion for duty health inspector, which would actually be in Chicago. So with that promotion, she would have to move, right? So nothing's really set in stone, but initially, Eva's super excited about it, because she's like, oh my God, I can get this promotion. This could be big. This could be the next step in my career. Until she realizes that if she takes this promotion, that means she's going to be leaving her sisters behind. So even though the promotion wasn't set in stone, it was still potential, but she knows how good she is at her job, and that she ended up impressing one of the people in her company that, was looking for someone to promote in that position. She knows she's going to be the one getting it. So she's kind of even thinking about if she should take it. So then fast forward, we're at the point where Mike, they agree to give him the money that he wants, and they're going to have Ray meet up with Eva at church, because Eva is the choir director of the church that they all go to, all the sisters. Ray ends up coming late, because the guys know the whole time, Ray is gonna be coming there. And of course, Eva doesn't know because they're trying to set them up. So when Ray does show up, you know, he's his smooth self like he's been. And his first encounter with Eva, because you could tell she's a little attracted, but I'm like, oh, okay. He's like talking to her, but he mentions he has a girlfriend. Now, mind you, this makes Mike and the guys mad because they're like, we're paying him to date her. Why is he saying he has a girlfriend? And he pretty much like, Mike gets Ray to the side and he's like, what are you doing? And Ray's like, this is like what I have to do. Like, this is my game. I know what I'm doing. Because he knows if he says he has a girlfriend, he's going to be more desirable to her. Because if a guy's like a quick catch, like it's not as good when you can just get it so easily, right? When you have to work for it, it makes it better. So as he's kind of playing this game or whatever, they're not quite together yet. Eva lets her sisters know about the promotion. So this promotion does catch the sisters off guard. They do get a little upset, but they know at the end of the day, Eva has to live her own life. Even though they kind of expect her to always be there for them, they know she has to live her life regardless. So they end up kind of accepting that and then moving on. Now, fast forward to a barbecue that the family's having. Ray shows up again, and he ends up talking to Eva. And this time he lets her know, oh yeah, I broke up with my girlfriend, and you know, we should go on a date. And at first, Eva's not impressed because she's like, wow, so you jump off one horse and you get on another? Like, that's quick. And, you know, he's sweet talking her and this and that. And she's like, not really open to dating him because he does ask her out until he end up tasting her baked beans. Now, here's a little story about the baked beans. Previously, Daryl, I believe it was Daryl. Yeah, let me see. Yeah, Daryl ate Eva's beans, and so these beans are supposed to be super hot. Like, he starts choking, like he can't even, like he's trying to drink everything, nothing is helping this heat, like they're too hot. And Eva makes a point to say that those beans separate the boys from the men because only men can, you know, eat her beans. So while he has his plate and he's talking to her, he eats the beans and he's like, you know, like it has a bite to it, but these are good, I like these. And so that, of course, was the green light because she's like, okay, if he can eat my beans, then, you know, I guess he can handle me. So they do go on a date. Hello, everyone. This is Bila Day. Sorry to interrupt this episode, but I just wanted to let you know that you were only listening to a preview. So if you would like to listen to the rest of this episode, then you can definitely go to the website, butmathat'smyfavoritemovie.com, or you can go directly to any of these platforms for the full episode. We are available on Podbean, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Radio Public, Pocket Cast, Castbox. Please don't hesitate to follow the podcast on any of those platforms so that you can be notified anytime a new episode is available. If you didn't know, our primary release day is every Thursday, but be on the lookout for bonus content as well. Now, if you've listened to the But Ma, That's My Favorite Movie podcast before, that's awesome. Thank you. I appreciate it. So if you have a friend that loves movies like we do, then definitely go ahead and share this podcast with them. And if you're a new listener and you do end up enjoying the podcast, well, then you go ahead and share with a friend too. Also, don't forget to like any of our social media pages so that you can also get updates and regular information about the podcast and about any of the episodes that are coming up. The social media sites that we have a presence on are Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And also, if you want to leave a review, whether constructive or positive, we'd appreciate that too. All right, go ahead and get over to one of the other platforms so we can finish getting into the rest of these movies.